Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show. Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Phil Lindsey. Think back for a second, kids, about the funniest joke that you've ever heard. We'll wait. In the meantime, let me say this. As you're thinking of it, and do you have it? The funniest joke you've ever heard. How funny was it the second time you heard it? Not bad, right? Pretty good, still good? What about the third time? There's a trend developing here, everybody, if you see where I'm going with this. A lot of times, the best joke you've ever heard, probably not as great or as funny or as innovative or as compelling as the first time you heard it. I mean, I don't care if it's a not joke. Second time out, still funny, not quite as funny. That's kind of where I'm at with the topic today. Yes, we've done sequels. Yes, we've done franchises. I mean, Marvel's in the title of the show, everybody. You know how we roll. Yes, we do franchises. Yes, we do blockbusters. Yes, we do trilogies. We do sets of 4. We've done everything here on the show. And we're tackling another trilogy. I don't think we intended to do that when we did the first Hangover, yet here we are with the Hangover 2. So not to bias our audience or you right out of the gate here, Phil, but for me, I can sum this up real easily with the intro I just gave. My favorite joke of all time is not quite as funny the second time I heard it. That's kind of where I'm at here. But I want to get your fresh take because I don't know what the take is. Haven't asked you before we started getting on mic here. So I'll ask you now. When's the last time you've seen The Hangover 2? And what's your overall view of the film going into this podcast?
I probably haven't seen Hangover 2, since it released. And rewatching it, I remember all of the stuff that didn't quite land as well this time around. There's a lot of very crude humor this time around that doesn't hit quite as well. Uh, the concept of it is a little bit more unrealistic this time around as well. It still had funny moments, but yeah, it's not quite as good as the first one.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. And I'm with you. I haven't seen this film since it released, which is nuts. But not since it released, man. I'd forgotten a lot of it. I'd forgotten how insanely similar it is. And I've got a list of stuff here we can talk about, the similarities. Dude, why can you sum it up in your opinion? Why do producers, screenwriters, Hollywood in general, why feel the need to duplicate the first film? What's the thought process there?
Yeah, money. The first one made so much money, and it's kind of like we're both wrestling fans, and the first time you see a match, you know all of the high spots, you know all of the points where we're supposed to cheer, you know the comeback spots, you know the parts we're supposed to pop for. The finisher comes, and we're supposed to know that's the end of the match. And so I feel like they try to hit the same story beats to get people to get the same reaction a second time around. But a good part of the reason Hangover 1 was so good is because a lot of it was a shock. It came as a surprise. And so you can't quite get the same energy twice. You can't get lightning in a bottle twice.
Yeah. I mean, good luck getting it the first time, right? I mean,
yeah.
To your point, the first Hangover made so much money. And this one was not a box office failure by any means, ladies and gentlemen. The budget for this film was $80 million. It made $586 million.
Whew.
Yeah, dude. Like, what? It made some bank. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking we've said this about other things that we've covered. Um, and I said this to a friend of mine after watching this again. I was like, in your opinion, if The Hangover 1 had never happened, and I'll ask you, Phil, let's say this is The Hangover. This movie's The Hangover. Forget the first one. This is The Hangover. Does it work? Or did it lose some charm from the first one? Would the jokes still work? Or, I mean, can you even wrap your head around that idea?
That's an interesting question. I do think that some of the shock of this one would have came off a little bit better if it didn't feel as derivative.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I think that some of the humor here is just not as good as the first one. Some of the crude humor here is just a little bit too over the top for me.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff in the first one worked because it was just simple. It was just simple, uh, either slapstick or shock humor, and it just worked. This stuff sometimes it felt like, did we really need that? Like, did we really need so much of this gratuitous stuff with Child's penis early in the movie? It's
Really?
like, okay, uh, yeah. I mean, even some of the stuff in the strip club, I was like, all right, do we really need this?
And, these days, it's nothing to see a prosthetic member, attached to a dude in a flick. But I dare say these weren't prosthetics. I don't know for sure. Maybe I'm wrong and these were actual women wearing prosthetic, attachments down below. I don't know the answer to that, but they kind of looked real to me. So
Yeah,
that was kind of a shock to the system. Even though this is 2011, the scenes with that, they were grossed out, but I don't think they were grossed out because, oh my God, it's a guy. I think they were grossed out because they're straight and, you can make the jokes there. But I think it could have gone way worse with the humor in those scenes than it did. And honestly, I was kind of impressed that it didn't go that far, I guess.
yeah.
So, um, well, folks, we're going to dive into this one. We've got the same bulk of the cast is back. Basically, everyone's back this time except for Black Doug. White Doug's here, and we barely see White Doug once again. Justin Bartha as Doug, Phil, is basically not in this film. I don't know what this guy's getting paid for these films, but man, like how many days you have to show up to the set to shoot his scenes? Maybe 4? I don't even know what the number is. That's crazy. Getting the day off. Justin Bartha as Doug. Zach Galifianakis, of course, the great Zach Galifianakis is Alan. Ed Helms is back as Dr. Stu. He's just a dentist, kids. Don't forget that. Bradley Cooper, of course, is Phil. That's your main cast. At this point, we got to say Ken Jeong is absolutely part of the main cast. Leslie Chow's back, and yes, we had to look at what was perceived to be his nether regions. I don't get that. It's freaking weird. But uh, the cast still works, Phil. I mean, everyone still has great chemistry. Nothing feels off to me. They all feel it's. I guess it feels so familiar because it's a part two, but also because these guys work so well together. The cast didn't throw me off at all. It was the writing. It was the story.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's your regular cast there, kids. Jeffrey Tambor is back as Sid. That is Doug's now father-in-law. We got to see for the first time in the Hangover franchise. I could spend an hour on this guy. Paul Giamatti is so good, dude. He's so good. I don't think I've ever seen a bad Paul Giamatti flick. Well, you could argue The Rhino was pretty freaking terrible, but He's such an artist. He's so good at what he does. I've always said, I think I was the first guy to say it, he should play Paul Heyman in a big screen adaptation of WWE because he'd be perfect. Um, what did you think about Paul Giamatti? He wasn't in this film very much as Kingsley, who we also come to know as Detective Peters, an undercover Interpol agent.
I thought it was great. I think the first time we see him at that restaurant, he flips out at them. So good. Uh, yeah, Paul Giamatti is he's fantastic, man. He rarely phones it in. Uh, I thought he was great here.
Yeah, really good. This time, and there's another wedding, Phil. Don't forget, there's another wedding. This time it's Jamie Chung portraying Lauren, Stu's fiance. Stu's getting married. He lost the crazy psycho girlfriend from the first film. Funny that we never hear about Heather Graham's character Jade from the first film here. Was there ever any mention of her, or am I forgetting it?
Yeah, Alan very weirdly brought her up at the dinner party at the dress rehearsal.
That's right. That's right. Oh my God, he did. Alan
Yeah,
just messes everything up.
yeah, because Phil had to stop him mid sentence because he goes, "There was a whore in Las Vegas."
I watched this film last week, so I've forgotten some of the minute details. Yeah, dude, I forgot all about that. Alan just makes everything uncomfortable, which is why the character's so good. Because there's fun to be had in the jokes and the gags, but when a joke lasts just a little bit too long, the camera stays in a position just a little bit too long, and it gets a little uncomfortable. That's like a different style of humor right there,
Yeah,
and it's kind of forcing you to be confronted with it, and it's either going to fall well with you or it's not. But most of the time, I'm okay with that. Like it, those little moments of being uncomfortable. Alan, the character of Alan, didn't miss a beat here. He's just as is he it is he too much Alan in this film, or do you think it was just the right amount? Did they play too much into that, or no?
I think there's some scenes where the humor doesn't land, but I think for the most part, his humor is just it's so simple. It's just so visual a lot of times that it works. Like
Mm.
when they cut back to them at that clinic waiting on Phil, and he's just randomly sitting in the waiting room eating watermelon. Hilarious.
God, it so is. It's so good. Uh, let's see. He had to give up the monkey, the drug dealing monkey. We'll get to that. Boy, there's some stories about that I didn't know. The drug dealing monkey, and also the hat, because Paul Giamatti's character made him leave the hat. And they're in the elevator trying to find Teddy, and he has that very quick moment of like, first the monkey, now the hat. They couldn't get any worse. Like, and he's all distraught, and they're all looking at him like, "God, you jerk!"
man, man, I can't ever keep no monkey.
Yeah,
And then they put the helmet on the monkey, and he's just like, his helmet has a banana on it. These guys are legit.
yeah. That monkey, the same monkey from Night at the Museum, by the way, which is cool. Little tidbit there for you. I didn't know that. A Capuchin monkey, dude. I've been to where was I? On a cruise somewhere one time, and we went to this parrot. There were parrots and monkeys and sloths, like tree sloths, you know. And the Capuchin monkeys are they're the real deal. Like they tell you before you go in the cage, put your phones in your pockets. In fact, don't take your phones in. Don't have anything in your hair, like hair clips or whatever. Take your glasses off if you got glasses on. They will jump down and take everything off of you and just jump up and run away with it.
Wow.
So, yeah, my wife had a tiny little butterfly clip in her hair and forgot it was in her hair. And they jump down and get right on your shoulders, and they'll pick through your hair like they're looking for bugs and stuff, like they do to each other. And one immediately bounced on her head, grabbed the clip, and took off like he was running from the cops, man. And she's like, "Oh my God, he took the butterfly clip." He ate it or chewed on it and just threw it on the ground. Like, I can't do anything with that. So Up close, they're cute, but they're also a little scary. Teddy, dude, we talked about Teddy. Teddy is Lauren's brother. Did you know Teddy was portrayed by Mason Lee, who is the son of director Ang Lee?
I did not know that.
I did not know that either. Very cool. And he's known for this role, so I don't know what he's done after this, but he's best known for this role. And much like Doug in the first film, we don't get to see a whole lot of Teddy.
Yeah, I mean he's essentially the Doug of this movie.
Yes, he is. Such a dude, such a weird thing. Again, dude, it's the same. I'm gonna say it. It's the same story. It's
Yeah, it's just a
it's
different setting.
identical. Yeah, yeah, same. And one of the things that that's different, of course, is how the room they wake up in is not quite as posh
No,
as Caesar's Palace. But yeah, this time they're in Bangkok, as we said. And yeah, this was actually Mason Lee's debut. Nick Cassavetes is the Bangkok tattoo artist, and I didn't realize that until just now. Didn't realize that was even him. Liam Neeson was originally cast in the role of the tattoo artist. And also the role was actually envisioned for Mel Gibson.
wow,
Yeah,
that'd have been very random.
no kidding. I think Liam Neeson might have been like Cassavetes was great, but Liam Neeson might have been a better pick. I don't know, just the voice and everything. Yeah, it's the same freaking story, man. I just don't understand why we're going this route. Um, let's see a couple of ancillary characters here. Phil's wife is back, Jillian. She's uh, typically not the one that gets the phone call at the beginning. Phil never calls his wife. Phil calls Doug's wife, which is weird. Um, yeah. So let's see. Sandra Curry as Linda, Tracy and Alan's mother. Yasmin Lee as Kimmy, and yes, she is a transgender pornographic film actress and model. She's also legit. So yeah, no CG there, kids. No prosthetics there. Yeah. Let's see. Which is the father does a 180 by the end of this film, and it's absolutely ridiculous. This guy's got every reason to hate Phil at the end. I don't know if he had every reason to hate Phil going into the end, but at the end, he had every reason in the world to hate Phil. Not Phil, excuse me, Stu. But at the end, he does a 180 and suddenly he's okay with Stu, which is weird. I bump into weird stuff in comedies, and comedies are fine. Like, who cares? It's a comedy, but still, things like that are just weird to me.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be one of those really ridiculous comedy tropes of when you're just a mild mannered guy, I hate you. But then when you turn out to be like this outrageous guy in this outrageous, out of the ordinary scenario, then hey, this guy might be all right.
Yeah. Like did he think this? I guess he thought that suddenly, well, maybe this guy isn't a wallflower after all. I kind of like him. That's the dumb logic, dude.
Yeah,
It's comedy film logic.
it is. But I mean, even Stu's rant is essentially the same as it is at the end of the first Hangover, where he goes off on his girlfriend. He just goes off on Lauren's dad this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same thing. Exactly right. Yeah. Um, I think we noted in the first Hangover that when we reviewed it, Galifianakis would not shave his beard for this film. They wanted him to, so instead he just shaved his head. Um, I mean, I can't even imagine Galifianakis without a beard. It would. I don't know what that would even look like at this point.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I think about Stu ranting in the first movie, by the way, I think of the wedding singer in the background, just like just just screaming fame.
Oh yeah, God bless. No kidding.
By the way, that same wedding singer has been in several of these movies. He's in Starsky and Hutch. Uh,
He is. I forgot about that because Phillips directed that also.
he's in another movie.
He's in Old School.
Yes, but he's done a few of these.
I knew that guy's name. He's a comic. He's like a stand-up comic, I think. What is his name?
Yeah. I definitely think his funniest performance by far is the one in Starsky and Hutch where he's singing the "Feel Like Making Love"
Yeah.
at the kids' bar mitzvah. He's like rocking the womanhood. I know you will, and then and then Vince Vaughn's character's like, "What does that mean? What are you talking about? What do you mean?"
Yeah, dude, I gotta forget his name, but he's had a pretty good career in Hollywood, man. I can't remember his name now to save my life. Um, yeah, I mean, dude, it's got moments. Listen, I'm not saying this movie's terrible. I'm just saying I don't think it holds up to the first one. I don't know. I don't
It
think it
has
holds
funny
up at all.
it has funny moments. There's definitely stuff that works, but there's a lot here that feels very derivative. And like I said, some of the more crude stuff in this movie, I was just like, yeah, I didn't really need that. I didn't need Chow throwing around the N word in here. That was kind of weird. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah,
The band in question is the Dan Band.
yeah,
Dan Finnerty. Band is known for its covers of originally female performed pop songs with added obscenities and swearing. Just the description is funny. I don't know. Just the description is funny.
yeah. That doesn't he sing? He sings Candy Shop in Hangover, doesn't he?
I think that's right.
Yeah, he sings 50 Cent Candy Shop, and then he does Fame after that.
In 2007, they had a Dan Band Christmas. I suddenly want to watch that. Yeah, Two Guys and a Girl is where they debuted in 2000. Remember that show? It was Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
Hmm.
That was where Ryan Reynolds got his start. 2001, The Wedding Planner soundtrack. 2003, Old School. 2004, Starsky and Hutch. '05, The Dan Band Live. 2009, The Hangover soundtrack. Candy Shop. You're right. Yeah. There's a lot of people in this band. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 8 people in this band. That's 2 Beatles. I don't know. 2 sets of Beatles, for God's sake. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, every time I think about Stewart doing that rant as him, I just think of the lead singer doing a remember, 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 fame.
Oh, yeah, there's moments. I can't get over how it's like a carbon copy of the first one. Every time that I bumped into a moment from the first movie, I was like, God, really? Are we doing this joke again? Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Uh,
I don't know.
Even even Stu doing the song on the
Yep.
boat is
Yep.
extremely derivative.
Yep.
It's not nearly as funny this time around.
No, but I love the concept of Allentown. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's just not as funny as What Do Tigers Dream of.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone desperate, not knowing what's going on. They're trying to piece together the night before. God, so many similarities. This time they find a finger. No tiger this time, but Tyson does make an appearance. Spoiler alert. They find a finger, and it's one of those things where like Lauren's dad is just all over his kid about playing. I guess it's the cello. I think it is.
Yeah,
Um, and then come to find out, he loses his finger. Now he can't play anymore, and he's like, "Why would he be upset about that?" You know what I mean? Like, because he had so much pressure on him from his dad to begin with. So somehow that managed to fix itself as well, which I guess was the thought.
yeah. I think the entire concept of Alan being jealous of him is incredibly stupid, but there's bits of it that are funny. Like when they're sitting in the airport and he's like, "Oh, that's a nice neck pillow," and he's like, "Oh yeah, you can use it." And he's like, "Okay," and then just like flings it across the room.
Yeah, he's so jealous of him coming in between the guys in the wolf pack.
Yeah, that's the very funny concept. But yeah, his whole back and forth with him early in the movie, or when he's playing the cello and he's just like playing this amazing, beautiful cello solo, and Alan is just like in the background acting like it's terrible. He's like, it sucks. No, he's doing it stinks. That's what he was doing.
Yeah, that's what he was doing. Yeah. Hates this kid for getting in their hair, for getting in his way. Crazy. Um, yeah, I mean, of course, as we said, the whole film is about finding Teddy, and they have to pick up clues along the way. We see that the guy working in the strip club he is the same guy from the first movie, right? He's just got a bad wig on in this film.
I think so.
Yeah, he was the Russian that got shot. What was the line from Galifianakis in the first one when they shot him?
Oh no, that was Stu. Stu was like, oh, they
Stu.
shot. What was his name though?
I don't remember his name. Was it Eddie?
Yeah, that's it. They shot Eddie.
Yeah. Oh my. It's ridiculous. I mean, I love to see him back here, but it's just we can't forget that when they wake up from this hangover, the second hangover, that Stu has Mike Tyson's face tattoo. I mean, I love how when Tyson showed up, he's like, you better get that taken off. Well, how was he? And he's all mad about it too, right?
Yeah, and just like the most serious tone ever. It's like, yeah, you better get that taken off your face. Even Stu's response, oh, I will.
Yeah. Because in part 3, there's no trace of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Not even trace of it.
yeah, I love him getting up and their reaction to each other. Alan, your head. Stu, your head.
Yeah.
He's just like, is it my teeth again?
Yeah. Yeah. If you're following along at home, kids, basically these guys wake up without any memory of the day before again. And then come to find out later that Alan's responsible again. I mean, yeah. Yeah. This time it's a combination of, what did he say it was? ADHD medication
Yeah,
and muscle relaxers.
Yeah.
Shoved them in the marshmallows.
Yeah, we had to go through this whole scene of them trying to figure out what is under this sheet, and
Oh,
it's just again this gratuitous shot of Chow's penis. And it's just like, all right, uh, the Chow being naked gag worked in the first movie because it came off as such a shock. This time around, it was just like, why did we need this? Uh, yeah, it's stupid. But I mean, even all this stuff with Chow waking up and going, "Oh yeah, I'll tell you guys everything that happened," and takes a bump and then immediately passes out.
that was good. He went face forward on the table. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that was really really funny, and for whatever reason, the noise Alan was making when he's supposedly crying.
It's funny because when Chow shows back up later out of that ice machine, he's talking later about taking another bump. Like, no, you're not. No more.
Even him hopping out of the ice thing it's exactly out of the first movie. It's him hopping out of the trunk. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
He even does almost the same line. You're gonna kill on me?
yeah, you're gonna kill on me. Oh wow. That brings me to the list. Phil, Chow just made the list. So here's a small list of just some of the things that are completely duplicated from 1 to 2. As we said, there's an Asian man that jumps out of a small space. Alan accidentally drugs everybody again. Here's one that I didn't know if I put my finger on until just now. Instead of a tiger and a baby, we get a monkey.
Yeah.
Not bad. If you think about it, kind of makes a lot of sense. I mean, it doesn't, but it does. Tom Clark's 6M podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Everyday Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark 6M Podcast sent you. Ed Helms, of course, portrayed Stu. Once again, his face gets disfigured during the party night. Once again, Stu has sex with a hooker. Not quite the same kind of hooker from the first one, everybody.
Yep.
Once again, a body part is missing off of someone. A member of the crew has gone missing. Yeah, this is exactly right down the line of everything that's identical. Let's see. The member of the crew is still in the hotel the entire time. Similar to the roof from the first one. They realized this while coming clean to Doug's wife over the phone, which is odd that it took that long, I guess. I did think it was cool, Phil, that when they couldn't find Teddy, the first place they looked was on top of the roof. It's actually ingenious.
Yeah, I thought that was a smart way to call back to the first movie.
Yeah. Let's see. Alan interrupts someone's speech with a ridiculous speech of his own. They have a trade-off for the missing person and don't get him in the trade-off because Giamatti's character actually didn't have Teddy. They just used that as leverage to get to Chow.
Right.
Mike Tyson showed up, and Phil, in much better shape than the first one, looked a lot healthier, not quite as buff and ripped, or perhaps he had baggy clothes on, right? But he looked to be in much better health than the second one.
Yeah, he did. He looked a lot better this time around.
And kids, if you've listened to the first one, it's in the archives. Go download. Then you know that Tyson basically used the money he got for the first Hangover to fuel his cocaine habit. So yeah, he was all out of sorts in that first film. The bride's father is incredibly understanding. Which we pointed that out earlier. We had to once again see, Leslie's, member, I guess we could call it. Once again, Iron Mike sings. And of course, we get the obligatory, hey guys, I found these pics from last night.
Yep.
Dude, it's all the same. They kidnap an Asian guy against his will during the party. Again, as you said, Stu sings a song about the situation. Once again, they get the crap beaten out of them by the Asian guy. And once again, Bradley Cooper goes to the hospital. There's probably a lot more, but that's what I got.
One of the funny things I think about all of the pictures they show at the end is they always show one of the three of them punching somebody. And just the way that it's filmed and the picture of it always looks funny.
Yeah. I will say that shot of the three of them in the elevator and Chow standing in the front, that's a pretty iconic shot. There's like stills of that shot, just like the scene with them in the elevator with the baby. It's pretty iconic. This one I think is pretty iconic as well.
Yeah. I mean, the other similarity I can think of is somebody that's seemingly very smart, mutilating themselves. Like instead of this time Stu ripping his own tooth out, Teddy cuts his own finger off.
Yeah, doing that game with the knife on the table.
Yeah, this really huge knife.
And doesn't Alan shave his own head?
Yes, I think Phil helps him though.
Yeah, that's right, because they're laughing in the photos. Yeah, it's it's crazy. I don't know. again, I hadn't forgot this, or excuse me, I hadn't remembered this movie that much at all. But yeah, it's basically just a carbon copy. Well, let me ask you this: what you don't have to go into great detail, but how would you have made part two different? What would you have changed? I mean, what would you have made it? Would you have changed a lot of it? Could you have done a couple, two or three things to make it a little bit more? I mean, the setting's different. Where they wake up is different. And if you're going to keep the concept of they can't remember what happened the night before, I mean, why did it have to be Alan that drugged them this time? Couldn't it have been someone else? Like, what could you have done to separate this movie from the first one? You think? What would you have done?
Uh, I mean, I think this because the formula was such a big part of the first movie, and you're doing a sequel of the first one. Once you've gone ahead and said that's what you're gonna do. It would have been hard to not make this movie derivative. Because I feel like you have to hit some of the beats that the first one hit in order to please fans of the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would have gone in so hard trying to recreate the first one though.
And
Then-
here's something, dude. You kind of said this already, but once again, Stu has the same moment he had in the first one, where he's like taking up for himself. You could argue that Stu had a character change in the first film, and he was probably the only one that did. He was really the only one that kind of changed. And in this movie, nobody changed. He changed back to what he became in the first movie. Like, why did you need two different moments of Stu doing the same thing? Isn't that odd?
I mean, you can make the case that um, the events of this movie forced Teddy to mellow out
Hmm.
because
Okay, all right.
I guess the point when he kept saying, 'cause he said at the end, yeah, when I woke up, I was happy for whatever reason. I don't know why, which doesn't really make sense. But essentially, you could say that uh, he had experienced freedom because his dad was just harping on him constantly and making him work hard and all this other stuff, which is a little racist, but
Mm-hmm.
a little racist. But uh, um, but yeah, it I guess you can make the case that he was very high strung at the beginning of the movie and he mellowed out by the end of the movie.
Yeah. The soundtrack. Phil, even the freaking soundtrack's the same. There's a Danzig song.
It's like Kanye West again.
Yeah. Wolf Mother also. As we said, Stu just improvises a song out of the blue. All that's exactly the same. Um, let's see. Quotes from the. All right. So both feature early flash forward scenes with Phil calling to say, "We're not going to make the wedding." Both brides insist that their grooms go hang out with the boys. It's just one night. Phil again instructs his friends to go check your pockets for clues. Because he at that point he said, you know the drill. Yeah. Let's see. The bride and her rich parents are again poolside, making increasingly more frantic calls. Alan again interrupts a toast to read his own pre-written speech. We talked about that. Alan again reads facts about the Wolfpack's destination out loud. There's the same shot of the three guys in the elevator, as we said, dazed and staring forward. Stu again figures out where the missing buddy is seconds before Phil's about to let everyone know that said buddy is missing. Yeah, once again, he tackles Phil to prevent the reveal on the telephone.
Yep.
And as we said, Ken Jeong is naked through much of this film. So.
One thing I did think was a nice change was Alan replaying in his mind when he was meditating what actually happened the night before, and they're all kids.
Yeah.
I think that scene is so funny. It's it's hilarious.
At least it's something different.
Yeah.
The wedding chapel owner, Eddie, in the first film was portrayed by Brian Callen. He is back, this time as a Middle Eastern man, Middle Eastern descent. So he was a Russian, now he's from the Middle East. He's a strip club owner / gun runner with Samir. Yeah.
Yes. Samir? Screw me over $6,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
that. Oh my God, that was extremely racist. Did he call him? Did he call him like a camel jockey or something?
Oh, I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude.
very, very horrible stuff. And that's why I was saying some of the humor here was just like, yeah, it's a little bit more than I really need. Like I said, him using the N word a few times and some of the more outlandishly racist stuff was like, didn't really need that.
Yeah, the Asian guy in the film using the N word because he did it in the first film too. I think didn't he? Maybe
I don't
not.
remember.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, and it's I think we've rehashed it. We're doing what we did the first movie. This is like us doing the first movie. It's the same thing. Like you can just listen to the first episode and get the same. Just a different country. That's all. Um. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we replaced a tiger by the drug running monkey. Now, let's get to just a bit of controversy here, which I didn't know existed till doing the research for this movie. The monkey in question is named Crystal. The Capuchin monkey, who also appeared in Night at the Museum films, portrays a drug dealing monkey. Director Todd Phillips raised concerns after he joked that Crystal had become addicted to cigarettes after learning to smoke them for the film. Those are real cigarettes that monkey's smoking. Did you know that?
No, I did not. That's crazy.
I would have thought they were props, man. Uh, so here you go. Phillips later explained that Crystal never actually held a lit cigarette on the film set and the smoke was added digitally in post production. Despite this, PETA protested about Crystal's appearance in the film for use of exotic animals for entertainment purposes, and the film does not carry the American Humane Association's disclaimer that no animals were harmed since the group was denied set visits.
Hmm.
Why would you deny set visits?
I don't know. And they
Weird.
used the monkey for a lot of really weird, gross out gags. Like
Yeah.
the gag that they used a lot in the trailers and commercials was, of course, the scene on the bus where he's biting on the fake boner.
Yeah. 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 It's kind of funny. That's real toilet humor. But
Yeah,
yeah. Um,
I think what makes that scene funny is that all of the monks and stuff around him are also laughing at it.
yeah, that's true. The monks. Okay. There is something a little bit different this time. The monk that can't break his vow of silence. Otherwise, he could have told him everything in like 2 seconds. Because they think they're picking up Teddy, kind of like when they thought they were picking up Doug and got the other Doug. But this time they get a monk named Teddy. Or a monk that they thought was Teddy. The cops
Yeah,
thought was Teddy.
the monk with all of Teddy's IDs and stuff and his Stanford hoodie.
Yeah. The cop excuses it like, hey, man, we arrest a lot of people, Oh, my God. Hey, at least they made an effort to do a little something different, Phil. I can't be too mad at that.
Yeah, I mean when you think about it, Teddy is kind of an amalgamation of Doug and Stu in the first movie.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a good call. I love the monk. He didn't do anything, but I loved him. It's fine.
Yeah, he's just there for both of the movie in his wheelchair.
Yeah. Just hanging out. And who was it? Wasn't it Phil that goes off on the monks? He's like cursing real loud at them. Isn't it Phil that does that?
Yeah,
Oh
when
wow.
the guy is whacking him with that stick for talking.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Because they can't figure out stop talking. Just stop talking. Yeah. Another little bit of controversy here, kids. In an interview with New York Magazine, Ken Jeong responded to criticisms of the character of Mr. Chow as an offensive caricature and stated doing the character was very cathartic for him and said the character has the inflections of Vietnamese with kind of the anger of my own Korean nature, although it's definitely not about an accent or a stereotype. I don't know, Phil. I'll ask you your take. I don't know what you think about this, but if you're asking a man of that particular background to play, and I don't know, I mean, I don't know if you think Chong is a stereotype or not, or Chow, excuse me. I think it's pretty well borderline. I think he's very funny. What's your take on what's your take on that? I mean, is it okay? Is if the actor is good, are you good? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Uh, I mean, we've seen depictions of things where an actor is fine with what they're doing, and they've made up their mind that it's not offensive to them. But just because they've made money off of something and it's not offensive to them doesn't mean it's not racist. It can still be racist. I don't know if I don't really have a thought on Chow as being a racist character, other than the fact that he does some pretty offensive things several times in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily offensive because he's racist; it's just because he's just an offensive character. Um, and I mean, like I said earlier, I think really the depiction of Teddy early in the movie is, I feel like, more of a stereotype than the Chow character.
Yeah. Yeah, a pushy Asian father who wants perfection, and the son who is forced to do something he doesn't want to do to please his father.
Yeah, and he's like a prodigy at cello, and
Yeah.
he's very smart and all these other things. It seems like a seems like a pretty big stereotype.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, let's see. As the film comes to a close, many photos are revealed depicting the events the previous night. Among them is a photo which loosely depicts a famous war photo by photographer Eddie Adams of a public execution during the Vietnam War. Film critic Roger Ebert was among those who criticized the use of the photo, calling it a cruel shot that director Todd Phillips should never ever have used. So yeah, yikes. Um, yeah, everybody's offended by something, and I'm not excusing anyone here, but like I've seen comments. I know you have too about movies and songs and TV, whatever, and there's someone offended, and it'll make even the most logical person go, "Wait, that offends you?" Like, dude, I feel like there's something that offends everybody out there.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but I don't know enough about Vietnamese culture uh, to comment on it. Um,
That's fair.
it. And I also am of the belief that just because I don't understand why it's offensive to somebody doesn't mean it's not offensive. Because I think people do that quite often. Like, well, that's not a big deal. Like, well, yeah, it's not targeted at you. Um, so yeah, of course you wouldn't think it's offensive.
That's fair. Also, I can't argue with that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to set about because we've done this before. I think. How would you fix this film? That's a lot of work. Um, if this isn't a terrible movie, like we said, it's got its moments. I didn't hate this film, but I do think that there are a lot of gags that could have just been left in the first one and not been revisited. Phil gets shot in this. In the first one, he just got a concussion because he was punched by Wayne Newton. So yeah, a little bit different this time. Um, so in the first movie, I said that I had sort of a different way of looking at Alan because Alan in the first film, you can get mad at him if you want for the drugging and stuff, but he, honest to God, thought he was giving them ecstasy. He didn't know they were roofies. In this film, they went on a trip, a bachelor trip. It's the wolf pack back together, and the dude drugged something. At this point, the gag is, why would they ever talk to this guy again? You know what I mean? Like, lock him up. Like, what's wrong with this dude?
Well, his defense is that he wasn't trying to drug them; he was trying to drug Teddy so he would go away.
Yeah. Jeez.
I like his defense of when Stu's getting mad at him, he goes, "Well, you look like you like it. You were smiling when I raised the marshmallows." And he's like, "That's because I like marshmallows."
Oh my God. That is so good, dude. I can't argue with that. I mean, there's moments, they've got moments, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we dive into the third one because I don't remember a thing about that movie. Not like nothing.
um, I think I think the Tyson cameo is hilarious this time because we're not expecting it. We get him awkwardly dancing through this performance, which is hilarious. Um, and it's something about the way Alan is in the background dancing that kills me every time I see it. I think it's because he has this very blank stare on his face while he's doing like these very offbeat dance moves. It's hilarious, man. Or the way that the music stops and Tyson reacts like 20 seconds later.
Yeah, yeah.
Hilarious.
And they're all popping when they see him. They're all excited when they see Tyson. But then he's like, "How did you get him?" And he's telling me, he's like, "Oh," he said, "But we don't get him forever. Like we have to give him back."
Like we don't own him.
Yeah. And Stu does that long take. He does that. Stu has that long pause he gives Alan in both movies where you're like, I know. I know. So, oh, it's good. I mean, now that I'm thinking back about it, it's maybe not half as bad as I make it out to be. I don't know. I just think there could have been a lot done here. Does this work for you as a sequel, or is it just too close to the first one?
I think it's fine as a sequel. I think it moves some of the characters along. It at least progresses Stu into another relationship, and uh, it kind of progresses their friendship, and that they still accept Alan for who he is. Uh, it works as a sequel. It's not again. It's not a bad movie. It just seems very unnecessary in some ways. I feel like it's at several points during this movie, I felt like the only reason this movie was made was because they knew it was going to make a lot of money.
Mm. Boy, it sure did. Yikes.
Yeah.
Um, do you see the need to do a part three? Do you just stop here?
No, you really didn't need to make two. Uh, you didn't need a whole trilogy out of this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like Horrible Bosses. Are you a fan of that flick?
Yeah, it's funny enough.
I thought Horrible Bosses was good. Horrible Bosses 2, I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this again?
Yeah, a lot of comedies don't really work well when you try to redo it.
Yeah. 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 I'm with you. A lot of times it doesn't work. Um, well, I don't know what more I've got to say about this one. Love the cast. The story's ridiculous. And the first, it's funny, Phil, because in the first one we were saying, love the cast. Story's actually pretty original. I like it. But yeah, not so much this time. The addition of Giamatti's nice. There's a couple of nice additions here, but it's just not. I'm not feeling this one. Don't hate it. I'd watch it again, but I would definitely watch the first Hangover more than I would watch this one because this is not. I think you said it when we opened the show. This didn't stick the landing really because not like it possibly could have. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I
man.
feel like if the entire movie is to build up to the Tyson cameo at the end, it's at least a rewarding payoff at the end, and it is funny. Uh, and the pictures at the end are funny again. The picture of Teddy cutting his own finger is hilarious. Uh, Alan walking around with the finger up his nose, hilarious. um, yeah, there's plenty of shots in there that are funny. Um, but yeah, again, did I need some of the more crude stuff? Not really.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Um, yeah, this film is kind of all over the place. It does revisit the same jokes over and over and over again. It is what it is.
I will say, in the scenes in the strip club, when Stu is just like mumbling to himself and whining, it is hilarious just because of the way Ed Helms plays it. Uh,
Yeah,
just him repeating back, "You shut your load at me."
yeah. Oh God, I'm pretty sure I can remember the theater when the whole theater went, oh, you could just hear it when she said what she said. Yeah, yikes. Well, kids, there you have it. There's The Hangover 2. And yes, as if we didn't tease it enough, we're going to tackle the third one. So hang on and buckle up for that one for a bunch of original ideas. Yeah. And story jokes and whatnot. You can't wait for that one, I'll bet you. Let's try to wind this down if possible, my friend. Give me your last word on The Hangover 2.
Yeah, feels like a wholly unnecessary sequel, but it did manage to get some good moments out of it. And if the objective was to make money, studio succeeded.
I can't put it better than that. I think you nailed it. Yeah. Yeah. If the idea was to get this thing over, they got it over. Yikes. Main event level. Butt ton of money for sure. And that's a Southern measurement, ladies and gentlemen. Butt ton. It's a butt ton of money. Yeah. Does it hold up? Compared to what? I don't know. I mean, the whole film compares exactly to the first one. You could probably lay these movies side by side. And I don't know if anyone's done this, but I would dare say you could run these movies consecutively on two different screens. And I wonder how the timing would work. I'll bet they're close. And I've never done it, but now I really want to do it to see how the timing is. Maybe I'll do that. As we said, kids, if you've not checked out our review of the first one, please do so. It is in the archives. And depending on when you listen to this, if we've not done part 3 yet, hold on for that one. And if it's already out in the archives, by all means, listen to it after this one if you are so inclined. And we'll try to make it funny for you. We'll do all we can. But remember, we're not miracle workers here. So all we do is discuss. Yeah. By the way, it's worth mentioning, kids, that supposedly there's not going to be a part 4. I think we mentioned this in the first one. The deal that the cast struck with Phillips was, okay, we'll do the third one on the understanding and the agreement that we don't have to do a fourth one. So I think that kind of tells you where everybody was at that point. So we'll see how it goes. Can't wait to tackle it. If only for the sake of getting the thing done to see how it holds up, or if it holds up at all to the first one and or the second one. But in the meantime, that is The Hangover Part 2. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.